All right, how's it going? Today in art. Today is May 17th, 2019. Basically, what this is, it's a video and audio podcast, depending if you go on YouTube or the different audio platforms throughout Anchor, Spotify, all that stuff. My throat's a little dry. And basically, me as a working artist, I go and try to keep myself informed with various goings on in the art world as of late. So this story is, maybe like a week old. We got it pulled up through the Spiked website here, which I'm not entirely sure about that, but I have it through other websites as well, and I'll have the links for all this below. Basically, the piece of art that we're going to be talking about today is this one, which has a female nude of the certain Renaissance woman. Then it kind of has like almost like an American depiction, and the 6-point stars like that. As part of the rainbow scenes at the Saatchi Gallery, it's an exhibition of works by the artist Skew in the Prints and Originals Gallery. All but 2 of these works have been newly created for the exhibition. The overriding theme of the exhibition is how we as individuals are subjected to wider cultural, economic, moral, and political forces in society. One section of the exhibition deals with the impact of these forces on us individually as we absorb such influences in our minds and our bodies. The second section deals with the projection and promotion of values and symbols and propaganda. A final section includes works that represent a call to arms and encouragement to reboot the world, to press Control Alt Delete. So this is the image itself. And it actually took me a bit to find this image because this was covered up in the gallery because it offended people. Why? Well, let's get into that. We must have the right to blasphemy against Islam. The Saatchi Gallery's covering up of 2 Islamophobic paintings is an outrage. So this takes place in the UK. And the UK does not have the same like freedom of speech, freedom of expression kind of like laws that we have in the US. So it sucks because even now in the UK, there are people getting jailed for posting rap lyrics on Facebook, as well as a trans woman that's a biological man was jailed because on Twitter he said that it was something along the lines like trans women are men, and they got jailed for that. Thou shalt not insult Islam. Bizarrely, terrifyingly, this has become the creed of 21st century Britain. Consider the Saatchi Gallery's decision to cover up 2 paintings after Muslim visitors complained they were offensive. Boo fucking who. In a blow to the ideal of artistic freedom, the supposedly edgy gallery in West London draped gray sheets over 2 new paintings that infuse verses from the Shahada, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, with images of naked women and the U.S. flag. The Saatchi is behaving like Saudi Arabia, hiding from public view artworks that blaspheme against Islam. Perhaps the artist responsible will now get 50 lashes for effrontery to the religion of peace. The works are by the pseudonymous artist Skew. The aim of the paintings was to explore how individuals become subjected to wider cultural, economic, moral, and political forces. But visitors were denied the ability to judge how successfully the paintings did this because they were covered up by Islam, respecting modesty sheets in response to complaints that they were blasphemous. The Saatchi Gallery said it respected the sincerity of the complaints made against these works. Skew proposed a compromise, in the words of The Guardian, with the visitors who called for the paintings to be taken down. Skew said that they shouldn't be taken down, but they should be covered with sheets. Way to defend artistic freedom. This is the respectful solution, Skew said. So, if it was me, and it was my artwork, I absolutely would not. But then again, this is in the UK. So, yeah, it just... the UK and Australia and all those places that don't have like freedom of speech like in their constitution, in their laws, they're kind of getting screwed over with this horse shit. This wasn't a compromise. It was a capitulation. It was a caving in to censorious cries of people who clearly think that public space, even artistic spaces, should be cleansed of any images that offend their religious convictions. There is no significant difference between the intolerant desire of certain visitors to have the paintings taken off the walls and the spineless decision of the artist and the gallery to cover them up instead. In both cases, actual artworks would be hidden from public view, defaced with censorious cloth on the bias that they offend religious sensibilities. It is positively pre-modern. It is also ironic and riddled with double standards too, for the Saatchi art crowd has long presented itself as dangerous and sensational and willing to offend against orthodoxies. Charles Saatchi himself, the wealthy co-founder of the advertising agency Saatchi & Saatchi, who set up the Saatchi Gallery to display his immense art collection, has made a name for himself as a shower of supposedly offensive art. He famously sponsored the young British artists of the 1990s, who were rarely out of the headlines for their shocking works. As sensation, the 1997 exhibition of his collection at the Royal Academy of Art in London, a painting of Maya Hindley and Marcus Harvey, caused a huge storm. Some members of the Royal Academy resigned in protest at its inclusion, and the painting was vandalized by visitors twice, yet the Saatchi crew didn't cover it up. From what I read in like other places like The Guardian, it was saying that Charles Saatchi himself, like right here, is saying the gallery funded by the advertising magnate Charles Saatchi rejected calls from some visitors to remove the paintings, arguing it was up to visitors to come to their own conclusions on the meaning of the art. However, in response to the complaints, Skew suggested as a compromise the work should remain in the gallery wall but be covered up. It seemed a respectful solution that enables a debate about freedom of expression versus the perceived right to not be offended, which I think is complete and total fucking horseshit. My voice, I recorded this once already and it didn't work. My voice is like really dry. Even more strikingly, the Saatchi collection then included The Holy Virgin Mary by Chris Ofili, which is an Africanized painting of the Mother of Christ that rests on two big slabs of elephant dung. It caused a storm in London in 1997, and even more so when it was displayed at the Brooklyn Museum of Art in 1999. Rudy Giuliani, the New York mayor, threatened to shut down the museum over the offensive Ofili work. Christian organizations said the painting should be removed because it is offensive to religious viewers. Boo fucking who? Freedom of expression supersedes your ideology. Which raises a big and awkward question. Why is it okay for the edgy art world to insult a Christian icon but not to blaspheme against Islam? So if you're watching the video on YouTube, the artwork they're talking about is this one, which it is a painting that had like kind of women's butts around it. It has elephant dung there as well. But this is seen as, you know, whether it's making fun of or criticizing Christianity, that seemed to be okay. But the same thing towards Islam is not okay for some reason. This is where we get to the heart of the problem. Islam, uniquely among religions, is being force-fielded by criticism, or from criticism, to criticism, ridicule, and even artistic depiction in 21st century Britain. The Saudi-style covering up askews two paintings follows the shushing or shelving of other works of arts or entertainment deemed to be offensive to Islam. Various theaters, including the Barbican and the Royal Court Theatre, have rewritten or canceled works that might offend Muslims or witness the fire and brimstone condemnation that rains down on anyone who criticizes or jokes about certain Islamic practices, whether it is wearing the niqab or the 72 virgins thing. Student unions agitate for the banning of speakers who criticize Islam too harshly, whom they, of course, brand Islamophobic, because if you criticize Islam, you're Islamophobic. And also, you're deemed as racist, even though Islam is a religion and ideology. How they get that, I don't know. Is it because some Muslims are black and brown? There's some that's white, too. Islam is not a race. It's a religion. So, it's funny how they come to that. Charlie Hebdo continues to be shamed by British leftists as a publication that punches down because it dares to publish cartoons that mock Muhammad or take the piss out of Islamic beliefs. Even the Metropolitan Police recently decreed that it is Islamophobic to describe Islam in any of the following ways: as a static belief system, as other, as irrational, sexist, or aggressive, or as a political ideology. Apparently, anyone who holds these entirely legitimate views of Islam is guilty to an actophobia, which in essence means blasphemy. So over there, they don't have the freedom of speech, and they're like doubling down on these like hate speech laws and stuff too. It's happening in Canada as well with the bill C-16. Because in Islam, like the beginning of it seems to be peaceful, then there's like the violence at the end, and if there's like two contradictory statements, then they take the latter, which is the violent one. From what I've researched and seen, like Muhammad beheaded like 900 Jewish people. He impregnated like his 9-year-old wife, which is pedophilia today. But if you criticize that, or you're not allowed to criticize that for whatever reason, so then even where's this at? All right, let's get back to this. Everyone from the police to the commentarate to the political class now treats criticism of Islam as tantamount to speech crime. Consider the all-party parliamentary group's recent embrace of definition of Islamophobia as any prejudice against expressions of Muslimness, which could include dislike of basically any Islamic practice. It is little wonder people feel they have the right to walk into a gallery and say, "Take down this blasphemous work." After all, they live in a country in which the powers that be have reintroduced blasphemy laws by the back door in order to protect one religion, in particular Islam, from harsh criticism. They're also the ones that, I can't remember which country it is right offhand. The other week, it was like a Muslim country, and they had like 37 public executions, and some of them were because, like, they're known in like certain countries to like pretty much kill people, particularly throw them off of buildings because people are gay. So why you would want to protect that as a Western civilization that believes in the freedoms of expressions of individuals is insane, really. Where was that? This is really worrying stuff, and it's bad for artistic freedom, bad for public discussion, and bad for freedom of thought. The right to blasphemy is a hard-won liberty. We should have the freedom to mock all gods, prophets, beliefs, and ideas. Yes, the right of the individual to blaspheme against religion should always override religious people's sensitivities, 100%. The worst thing is this: censorship inflames intolerance. When we say Islam must never be insulted, we play directly into the hands of Islamists who believe that anybody who does insult their religion deserves to be punished. We license their bigotry. We strengthen their belief that criticism of Islam is immoral and thus deserving of some kind of blowback. Hiding those two paintings behind sheets was an incredibly bad, illiberal, and destructive thing to do. We have this, well, it goes over a lot of the other stuff as well. The pictures depict Islamic scripture, including the Shahada, the Muslim declaration of faith, on top of nude images. The work by the artist known as aimed to highlight the distinction between Islamic extremism and the United States. Because freedom of expression is in stark contrast to saying there's like blasphemy. The paintings are part of the exhibition entitled Rainbow Scene that finished on Friday, which was May 5th. And offended Muslim visitors called for the pieces to be taken down. Usama Hussein, head of Islamic studies at the think tank Quilliam, claimed the pieces of art were really dangerous, alleging it is the Satanic Verses all over again. The Satanic Verses, a novel written by Salman Rushdie, which was critical of Islam, resulted in the Ayatollah of Iran issuing a fatwa, a religious order, against Rushdie, calling for his death. Rushdie spent years in hiding with police protection following the incident. I think Charlie Hebdo was also killed as well. Like, if you criticize Islam, they pretty much call for your death. It's the killing of all non-believers thing, which is insane that, like, Western civilizations would, like, bend to this. Fear about reprisals for so-called blasphemy against Islam in the West has led multiple publications and media outlets to self-censor. This has come particularly in the wake of the incidents such as Charlie Hebdo massacre, in which journalists were gunned down in France for publishing a cartoon of the Muslim prophet Muhammad. Instances of self-censorship include the Times article that originally published this story, which has opted not to depict the artwork, but rather has shown it only covered in cloth as it appeared in the gallery. That's what I'm saying. It took me a while to actually, like, multiple websites and links and stuff to actually find the image here. So take a good look at this image here. And this is what they... It's insane that, like, I don't know, maybe it's, like, gotten so bad in the UK, and because I'm here in America, I'm like, yeah, you can say pretty much whatever the hell you want to, and you can, like, depict whatever you want to in art. Also, another image that they had that was at the Saatchi Gallery was these images that were, like, critical of Christianity. They're kind of like photographs and stuff, too. And one in particular, they even have, like, a quote-unquote offensive ones of, like, the KKK. And they have another one as well called Piss Christ. It's basically one of the, it's like a miniature version of Christ on the cross, like, submersed in the artist's urine. There's another one I did, like, a month or so ago. It's called McJesus. It was like a Ronald McDonald that was, like, crucified on a cross. And they refused to take that down. But it seems like if it's, like, it involves Islam, then they're like, oh, we don't, no, some people in Islam, or I don't know what, I don't know. Maybe because there's, like, so many Islamists, like, killing people and all this shit. Where was I at? Noted author and sociologist Frank Feduri said he was disappointed by the decision to censor the artwork, calling it a very dangerous move against artistic freedom. The Saatchi Gallery agreed to cover the work when the artist requested it, with a spokesman telling the Times it seems a respectful solution that enables a debate about freedom of expression versus the perceived right to not be offended. No, you have the freedom of expression. Any idea, any thought that you have is going to offend someone else. So have your fucking idea, and fuck. If it offends somebody else, well, that's their fucking problem. This shit pisses me off. Like it says here, the gallery has previously put works such as Piss Christ, a crucifix submerged in urine, on proud display, flatly rejecting objections from Christians. So, other institutions have been criticized for covering up art. For example, the National Trust was criticized on November 2018 for covering up portraits and statues depicting men in order to promote female representations. While the Manchester Art Gallery also faced objections in February 2018 when it removed famous Victorian paintings featuring nude nymphs to promote prompt conversation about the male gaze in the era of Me Too. So this is... it's a lot of... I don't know. I think it's a bunch of horse shit is what it is. So, what is your What do you think about all this? You think someone's like right to freely express themselves should be overruled because of some religion or ideology not liking it? So, but like I said, this has been Today in Art. This is May 17, 2009. If you'd wish to follow me, you can like the video version is on YouTube, and then I'll have the audio versions on Anchor and Spotify, and I think it's like Pocket Cast, and there's a bunch of other stuff. But if you want to support me, there's like Patreon, and there's PayPal, and I'm looking into Subscribestar and all that stuff. But yeah, this is what they're having an issue with. Is that? So let's take a good look at that. I'll make that the thumbnail. But yeah, have a good one. Peace. Go offend somebody.